Last year, I attended the Portland Retro Gaming Expo on my own. In 2025, Tanya decided to come with me, and we added an extra day and a bit to do some sightseeing while getting in the expo. We left Melbourne on Wednesday, the 15th October, on United Flight 61, which departed at 11:55 a.m. These tickets were redeemed using Velocity Rewards points, 96,000 points return per person, United Economy Class, Melbourne, San Francisco, Portland. As I have status with Velocity, I was able to access the Singapore Airlines Lounge in Melbourne. Minor complication here is that the lounge is closed roughly an hour before boarding, as the Singapore Airlines Lounge has hours that only operate during their own flights. But this was enough time to get breakfast and stash a few drinks in the carry-on. The flight to San Francisco was good. The food was not too bad. Chicken was the main meal. The tray table was very slippery, or my table was bent, resulting in it sliding at will. A mid-flight chicken roll was served, and for breakfast we had the option of waffles or eggs, and they were fine. We arrived in San Francisco around 7:55 a.m. on the Wednesday, which was time-wise for 4 hours before we left, but the flight duration was around 13 and a half hours. Our next flight was on United to Portland, departing at 10:50. This flight also went smoothly, and around 1.5 hours duration, and was right on time. We caught an Uber into town and checked into our hotel. On the first day, this was the Doubletree Portland. Shortly after checking in, we caught the tram to the city and found the Midtown Beer Garden, where we enjoyed some Mexican food from the food carts. As this was my first meal in the US, I had immediately forgotten that the serving sizes were not what I was used to. When I saw the cheese taco on the menu, I thought I must have one, and the enchilada meal, and as you can see here, there was more than enough for 2 people in my serving. In the afternoon, we visited Pal's Books and headed back to the hotel as we were starting to run out of batteries. On Thursday, we were booked in for a Mount Hood tour. This took us to Multnomah Falls, salmon trout farm at Cascade Lock's Bonneville Hatchery, where we saw the salmon runs as well as breeding areas for salmon and trout. They also had the sturgeon there, massive ancient freshwater fish. Herman, their oldest sturgeon, was around 80 years old. On the way to Hood River, we had a quick stop at Starvation Creek, where there was another nice waterfall, and then after a lunch stop, we drove up to Mount Hood and toured the Timberline Lodge and wandered around the surroundings at the top of Mount Hood. Now, Portland Retro Gaming Expo. This year there was, at least for me, an unexpected announcement. Atari announced the release of a modern remake of the Intellivision called the Intellivision Sprint. It is a modern emulation unit with HDMI, wireless controllers charged by USB-C, with 45 inbuilt games. There is also the ability to add USB sticks to provide additional game ROMs which can be played on this unit. Walking around the vendors at the expo, there was a lot that you could buy. Personally, I picked up a couple of Intellivision games that were in much better condition than the ones that I had for a good price. I picked up a working Coleco Atom system thanks to C-Mark Scouting, and a brand new Vectrex controller, an Inti NES adapter, all of Intellivision Revolution's releases, and John Hancock's Tortoises for Intellivision. There was an interesting, I apologize if I pronounced this wrong, IMLAC PDS-1 that had Space War playing on it. So it's a computer from, I think, 1974. It had a surprisingly good response rate on its vector display. I'm not sure why the manufacturer intended to use a vector display, but the usage was interesting. I ended up sitting on an Apple IIe that was next to that machine playing Oregon Trail for a while. I thought it was appropriate. I got all the way to Oregon, but the game crashed just as I was completing the game. At the expo, there are many games to play. This year, I spent a couple of hours playing pinball and some of the old arcade machines. Sometimes when you're walking around, you'll come across some people that will really surprise you and have a significant amount of talent working their craft on games they've clearly played before. A replica of the Back to the Future car was present. This isn't the one that was used in the movie, but one done by a fan, and they bring this to the shows to raise money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. But what a piece of work. While we were there, Adrian Black just happened to walk by, and we took the opportunity to give Adrian a faulty Intellivision that Rev had on display, as well as a few games, to hope that he does a YouTube video on it. This is the Intellivision Revolution stand, where I spent a lot of my time sitting around and talking. This video doesn't really do it justice, but the expo has a huge range of products that are available to cater for everyone's needs. There are a huge variety of video games and pinball games that are available for everybody. There are not queues. You don't need to worry about waiting significant periods of time. People don't generally hog the machines, but it's a fun way to relive your past. The 3-day expo went really quickly, and before you know it, it was Sunday night and it was time to go home. On the Monday, we still had some time to kill. We went back into town and visited the smallest park in America. A bit of a funny sight, but a nice story. A hole in the median strip where a light post was supposed to go and wasn't installed, and then was planted by a nearby newspaper columnist who overlooked the median every day. He tended this park every day until he passed in 1969. It became an official park in 1976. And it was the world's smallest park until February this year, when a city in Japan took the title away. We then caught the tram back to the airport, boarded our flight at 3:30 p.m., made our way back to San Francisco. Fortunately, we were able to access the United Lounge in the international terminal for free because of my status with Velocity. The flight back left around 11:30 p.m. Monday, but arrived in Melbourne on 9 a.m. Melbourne time Wednesday, about a 14.5-hour flight. I was exhausted when I got on the plane, ate my dinner, and had 6 to 8 hours of highly disrupted sleep. I was able to wake up and enjoy this fabulous breakfast. And you can see here what I was able to jam in my suitcase. A bunch of games and a clicker atom and a couple of other things. I hope you enjoyed this minor wrap-up video.